Today, I'm joined by Sabih Siddiqi, founder of Iqidis and also a New York attorney. Iqidis is actually doing something quite unconventional in today's VC-fueled AI craze. They decided to focus on product first. Really kind of even flew a bit under the radar, right? And then grew by word of mouth. And it's a very interesting product. So I'm very happy to have you on the podcast today, Sabih.
No, Martin, thank you so much, and really appreciate it. I know we've had a couple of other conversations prior. You've asked some great questions. You know the tech really well, so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's first talk about a few of your thoughts on legal AI overall and what you're building with Icarus, and then we can actually see the product and then feel how it looks like. Um, to kick off the conversation, I think very interesting questions. What do you see as the single biggest gap between what legal AI vendors are now building into their products and what practice and attorneys actually need in their day-to-day?
Yeah, so there's a couple of gaps, and they stem from really two places. One, you have a lot of legacy providers that are now trying to provide legal AI services, right? The problem there is that legacy is legacy. They have a different way of thinking about things. They have different cycles that they're ingrained in, and that's not their fault, right? They're running businesses for the most part. So doing something entirely new, and what this is an entirely new animal as far as legal research, application, and then providing real solutions. So the legacy providers, we think that they missed the gap because they're legacy, they're older. They can't really connect the dots in the way that the more agile players can. And then you also have the newer players, right? Those agile players that should be agile, should be doing cutting edge stuff. Problem is that the gap that we've seen and the gap that I have seen firsthand as a practicing attorney for 7+ years, specifically now with all the things that have been coming out, pitching the legal, is that they actually really don't understand their customer, right? They don't understand how we work on a daily basis, what our actual pain points are. And I think the problem really stems from, and I've seen some articles on this, and I tend to agree, it's because of a lack of legal DNA at the end of the day. Meaning, you have to really be in it to build for it at this point. And then the second gap within this second school or bucket really is when you connect the dots as far as the tech is concerned, you can do it easily. You can take the easy route, which is, APIing into GPT using OpenAI's RAG system or Google's, a lot of out of the box solutions that you can just put together, call it legal AI. The gap there is you don't own your orchestration. You don't own how the work product is going to look. You don't own a lot of the things that you need to do in between to provide the attorneys with really, really good work product, because that's what matters the most. So there's a gap between obviously the legal understanding and then actually applying the tech. And I'm sure you've seen my co-founder Devansh, highly technical. And that's us two coming together is really the best of both worlds there. So.
And how you then how does Icarus address both of those points in practice then?
Yeah, I mean, great question, and it's going to be a very nuanced one. I'm going to sound like a lawyer. It depends, right? But quite more specifically, I mean, okay. So as far as the legal DNA is concerned, obviously, I spent considerable time as an attorney, right? But what's interesting is that I've always absolutely loved a just product design. I've loved creating systems, right? Creating the systems things is the most important. Within those systems for me, I was always looking to create efficiency. I was looking to do and function at a better level than before, right? What that translates out to now is I have an acute understanding of A, how lawyers work, because I've done litigation, I've done a lot of transactional work, I've been on the in-house side as well. So that covers really big buckets there. And then being able to connect the dots on what attorneys need, not only now, but also in the future, right? That's what's really important because A, things are changing. The way that we developed our platform, the way that we have been working internally in the company, that's changed dramatically over the last 12 months, right? And that's going to continue to change. So understanding again now and the future, and then also deeply understanding the tech, right? I'm not just sitting here telling people that, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z. I am actually taking the time. I've taken the time, considerable amount of time, to understand the tech. And obviously, I'm not necessarily on the implementation side. I do assist our dev team really on a daily basis with some development work through the use of new AI tools and platforms. But more importantly, as far as the tech is concerned, as I mentioned before, we own the orchestration, right? So when you upload something into Iqidis versus, and we'll only use ChatGPT as an example. I don't want to bash other companies, right? Other legal AI companies necessarily. But you just using ChatGPT because a lot of them are APIing directly in and not much. When you upload something there, if you're uploading directly into AI, there might be some tool calling going on. Maybe a RAG is implemented, but that's really about it, right? You're really relying on GPT to provide you an answer on the basis of its training. That's not how lawyers work, right? And you'll notice even right now, I'm providing you a detailed, nuanced answer. That's how lawyers work, right? Lawyers work in that detail, in those facts. So being able to actually understand those things is really important. So when you upload something along with your query into Iqidis, what we do is we take the time to understand what you've uploaded through, at the end of the day, in that first layer, the knowledge graph. Prior to that, we do have a dual OCR and a dual RAG system that does a phenomenal job of being able to read, index, and parse. And then what the knowledge graph does is we actually take the time to understand what it is that you've uploaded. So let's say if you've uploaded a complaint, right? We will have literally charted out the plaintiff, the defense, everything that's happened in between. That's held as the context layer. And then it's passed through a couple of other context layers, such as our knowledge base, right? And then finally, we then have for NLP, for natural language processing, AI, right? And because, a lot of people say they're model agnostic. To us, what model agnostic means is that we can tap into more than one model in one instance to get the attorneys the best answer possible, right? That's truly what model agnostic is. It's not just turning a switch on and off and saying, oh, we can use GPT, Gemini, Claude. No, it's actually being able to use and leverage the best systems in one instance, in one call of getting an output, and then being able to provide a really, really good answer to the attorneys. To me, what matters the most, coming from a hyper detail-oriented space as big law, making sure that the details are really crisp as far as the tech is concerned, of course, and then what the attorneys are getting out from our platform. And I know that I'm droning on here, but one of the systems that we follow is, because we are a hyper technical company now, is the KISS method. Keep it simple, and mind my language, keep it stupid, right? As far as the product is concerned. So we do a lot to make it really intuitive for our users.
Okay, KISS is definitely very important over the last 5, 6 years of system building. That's as well something I've been coming to consistently.
Absolutely.
Simpler is almost always better.
Yeah.
What's not simple is the legal AI market right now, right? There are so many vendors. There are the generic models, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, constantly release of new features, both from the models and the vendors. So how does a law firm owner, right, that's trying to understand like what's best for their firm, make that decision? What should they be looking out for when making that determination of which tool to use?
So let me answer this from my own experience, because I was also partly in charge of exploring AI tools along with the firm's innovation committee, right? So 1,000+ person firm, we obviously were exploring what AI tools, what things to use and things of that nature. Frankly, I found myself, for simple questions, of course, things that did not include client information, just going on my phone to ChatGPT, right? That was doing a phenomenal job. The generative AI tools that are coming out right now do a phenomenal job as a baseline for some work, right? But the difference is that, what are you really looking for? You're looking for things that are secure, that you can trust, right? There are things like ChatGPT Enterprise that do solve for those security concerns in certain ways, right? And that's great. But now, if you're looking for something that you can ingrain in your workflow, right? Having just one tool that does a lot of different things for you and captures the work across the board from the start of your day to the end of your day, right? Then you come to us, really. So that includes whether you're a solo practitioner, whether you're a medium-sized firm, whether you're in-house or at a large firm. We are able to provide, I don't want to call it solutions, because what we are is really a legal operating system, right? as I was on a training session, as I mentioned before to you, those same attorneys, right, said, hey, this thing's like and I'm hoping I'm not going to get in copyright trouble for this, and I don't intend to, but this thing's like a Bloomberg terminal for lawyers, right? So that's what we are, right? If you're looking for something that could fit into your workflows and do your work, organize your work, provide you with clean drafts, so you can edit your drafts in the system, things of that nature, and we'll get into the demo at some point later. That's where we come into play. So it's not just a hodgepodge of features and tools. It's things that really make sense for attorneys. So
Right. So from one point, it's this technical orchestration, as you mentioned, in terms of doing the knowledge graph, having that OCR, which I think is definitely important. Ultimately, I think as the tech progresses, probably that margin will be, the difference in between legal AI specific solution and not legal AI solutions will somewhat, narrow. However, really the most important thing is kind of this workflow integration, right? I have my documents in my case management system, my DMS, right? Can the legally AI vendor access it directly, right? What are some of those workflow improvements that Iqidis provides?
absolutely. So just on a base level, right? Lawyers, what people don't understand is we work on client matters, or if you're in-house, you're working on a project or within a department or for a department, things of that nature, right? Being able to simply understand what that means and how to build a workflow around it was so critical for us. That's why we have the matter folders out, right? Which include the master folder of a client or a project as well. You're able to organize all of your documents, all of your notes and checklists, which have been so important. You can then also the multi-doc analysis, right? It's really one source of truth for your matters, for your work, right? That's so important. And we have thousands of uses on that per day because, again, it fits cleanly into their workflow of how we actually work as attorneys, which other legal vendors have just failed to understand. You can hire as many lawyers as you want for your product team and things of that nature. But if the legal DNA isn't trickling down from the top, you're gonna have a tough time. So
Absolutely. Now, having a great product is one thing, right? Then making sure that your team actually adopts it and uses it on a daily basis is another, right? We see time and time again, 50,000 spent on an AI solution, not even AI, like maybe CRM, case management system, and then the team is not really adopting, not really getting the value out of it. How do you ensure that whenever you onboard an AI solution into your company, that your team actually uses it?
yeah, so it's I've been through these trainings, and frankly, um, I hate those trainings. Right, as a lawyer, like you're gonna have me sit there and in my busy day talk about how to adopt this new tool, right? And I'm probably not gonna be listening, right? And that 20 plus person demo that I just did, everyone was listening. The reason why everyone was listening is because the product itself leads the adoption, right? It is so important not to have a bunch of, you can't just pull a bunch of features, throw them at the wall, see what sticks. What we have, again, the legal OS model goes full circle, right? So you can start an AI assistant, you're naturally going to progress to the matters, you're naturally going to progress into the library. If you're a litigator, you're probably naturally progress into the research app or module itself. And then obviously once you're doing, either whether it's contract review or smaller discovery, you're naturally going to enter into multi-doc analysis. And guess what? You're going to do all of that right from literally one pane, which is the matter folder, right? So for them, the attorneys, it's the adoption usage is driven through the product itself, because again, the product has been made to integrate very cleanly in their workflow. So our usage, for example, and we monitor these sort of things, and we have a bunch of amazing analytics. The DAU, the daily average use, is quite high, right? These attorneys, and not just our power users, I'm talking about hundreds of attorneys on a daily basis. They're ranging from 2.2 something hours per day, going even up to 6 hours plus per day, right? And we've seen the usage of a couple of other tools, and specifically this one very large firm, explain to us their current usage of I don't want to call them a competitor of another company's, right? It was around, like, I don't know exactly where they extracted the number from, but it was around 17%, right? Whichever way you put it, 17% is not a good number, right? So again, it's a matter of the features versus an actual legal OS. So that's what we are, and that's how we drive adoption. That's exactly the reason why in this 20-person demo, I was bombarded with questions, right? We had allocated an hour for this. It went over, as you know. And those questions stem from how can I, like, I love XYZ. How can I use it more? How can I use it better? Right? Those are the questions that we get. It's not, oh, this doesn't work for me. Because again, keep it simple and stupid, right? As far as the product is concerned, the things that we provide out and put out are going to work. We're just making them better as we go along. And then obviously there's an aspect of user education, which what we are trying to do, as opposed to having people sit through, is have the product be self-aware, have the product understand and know what it can do and can't do. Let the product really do all of that lifting. So we are spending considerable time and resources, not, hiring a bunch of drones to go out and sell necessarily. It's within the product. So that's it.
Yeah. In terms of, you mentioned a very important point of like what AI can and what it cannot do. That's, I feel like, is significant hurdle as well to adoption. Ultimately, yes, product can guide it, right? But ultimately, I think a lot of times staff of law firms doesn't truly understand what you can do with AI, what you cannot do, right? So what are some of the tips that you're sharing during those sessions when you onboard new clients, or what AI is good at and what maybe you should still do manually or really check its work?
Well, a couple of things, right? We have a small sales team right now for a very particular reason. That reason is because I've lived through the sales cycles with other companies, whether it's been AI or not, right? For close to a decade. I mean, we were sold to since literally day one of law school, right? The problem always was, I mean, a sales demo can look good. If you dig a little bit deeper, the people that are selling to you have no idea what they're selling you on, right? So there was always, as an attorney, like even as a law student, you ask one nuanced question and things start falling apart. We know what we're selling and we are very honest and transparent on what it can and can't do, right? That doesn't come from just being honest and transparent and say like, oh, we can't do this, can't do that. We know hyper, in hyper detail what it can't do and can do, why it can or can't, and how and where things are going, right? As well as how they can use it literally today. So as far as our adoption education is, that's how we're thinking about it, right? So actually understanding as far as what the product can and can't do is really important. And then in baking that into the product itself, as far as either tips, nudges, analytics that then drive different workflows, like let's say you're a litigator, being able to then the platform itself will automatically nudge you towards maybe the research tool, things of that nature, right? So that's what we're thinking about all of it.
In terms of, let's say, I guess, just practical application, and not necessarily just with Iqidis, just generic AI LLMs. What are some of those things that you're saying, like, okay, it can do this, but it cannot do Y?
Yeah, so like literally today, one of the clients asked, um, so with the library and then with the chats, is there a memory type feature like ChatGPT? Right? Great question. On its face, you would think that yes, you want that, right? Yes, you want to be able to retain that. And of course, we do zero data retention, zero training like any other company that's worth their salt. But actually, as an attorney, and we've done the benchmarking, we've done the test, you do not want that, right? You do not want universal memory where you're remembering things from other chats because of client confidentiality, things leading into other things, right? You cannot control for that. There's just no way. There are certain ways that we are doing that. We've launched it in beta already, but to be able to answer that question on why and actually how we're solving for it is what's really important. So obviously we told them exactly why, and then we explained to them what we're launching, a thing called Precedent Finder, right? I don't want to talk about some of the tools that we're releasing because they're really powerful, and frankly, we don't want to, we don't want anyone to really know how and what we're doing there. So when we do the demo, I'll show you exactly the realm of reality today. But we are launching this one thing called Precedent Finder, right? Which actually does exactly what these attorneys want them to do, want it to do, in a different way, not a memory type way where you're breaching confidentiality. So.
in terms of memory, I think also people that are especially coming from ChatGPT, they think that that will, for example, will help with adoption in their firm. But actually, I mean, for memory to even be useful in the first place, you still need to use the tool maybe for at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right, for it to actually start to understand you. And that's where, for example, if you're working with base models, let's say a Gemini, we've actually been recommended firms like, no, just create gems for each person, right? So that they have their own personalized gem, which knows about their role, about their preferences, right? And they can just work within that. And then you fully control what context it has, right? And so then details from one matter don't slip into another, as you well said.
Well, now,
In terms of just what the current vision of Iqidis, is it only for service delivery stuff? So, for example, can let's say an intake specialist use Iqidis, or can maybe like a marketing manager, if they want to prepare for a new marketing campaign, can they use Iqidis, or is it really just trained primarily, let's say, paralegals and attorneys?
so right now, what we are is really legal ops focused, right? And I use the word legal ops because we have a number of legal professionals, not just paralegals and lawyers, or LAs, legal assistants, but actual legal, whether it's a contract specialist, things of that nature, right? Whole teams that might include a lawyer, might not, but they're doing a lot of tangential legal work. That's what we're focusing on at the moment, right? And that's not only our bread and butter, but we are fully legal for now. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. In terms of, this tool is becoming more powerful. A lot of times there's this fear inside of law firms, like, hey, AI will potentially replace me. How do you address that fear, and how do you breach the generational divide in between, let's say, younger staff members that are very ready to adopt this, and maybe the older folks that are somewhat more resistant?
Um, I could give you either the safe and honest answer. I mean, both are going to be honest. Or I can give you the one that we see is happening. And I'm gonna do a little bit of a blend. Um, Good attorneys really have nothing to fear, right? Good attorneys are the ones that actually seek to provide value for their clients. We are service providers, so the service that we provide should be good. I mean, frankly, there's only one metric that we abide by, which is excellent. So attorneys everywhere should be abiding by that metric as well, right? So the value that you should be providing should be excellent. Um, what that means is also, though, we think you have a duty as a lawyer to your clients to use the best tools that are out there. So adoption, I think, is critical because now what AI allows you to do is, if you use AI responsibly, meaning you're not just inputting, inputs and then copy and pasting the outputs, blanketly. You're doing yourself a disservice as far as your own learning and development is concerned, whether you're a first year or you are 20 years into practice. You should not be doing that because then there's a dissonance between I mean, it's just neural rot at the end of the day, right? You're not learning from the platform itself. Um, and then secondly, I think that there's also the value divide because now our attorneys that are using our platform are able to do so much more work. So adoption is necessary because AIs can certainly help good lawyers be even better lawyers. But then second, obviously, we're now getting into things like automation and tools of that nature as well. So a lot of the work will be automated. People think that, oh, I won't need juniors. Well, no, if you have a good practice, you're going to expand, you're going to want to hire juniors as well. They're just going to be able to basically catch up to speed a lot faster now. And we've seen that with a few of our clients where they've hired juniors that, as opposed to spending, considerable time training in where they're just not making any money for the firm, they're now able to hit the ground running, right? By doing those smaller legal ops type tasks while also learning through the platform. So the good attorneys, I think, will be even better. They will be making more money as far as the bottom line is concerned. The ones that are just willy-nilly copying pasting, that's going to be a problem. And the ones that don't adopt, I think that's going to be a problem as well. I don't think that lawyers will be entirely replaced. I think a lot of the base level tasks will be automated so that clients aren't paying thousands and thousands of dollars for the most simplest of things, right? And I've been there. I've fielded the bills myself. I've also billed myself. So there's got to be meeting in the middle of providing real value. So.
That's a great point about, let's say, newer staff members catching up more quickly. What I've also noticed with the clients that have been implementing AI that we've been working with is that actually, for example, paralegals are now taking more complex work and actually taking work off the plate of the attorneys more, right? It's almost like the paralegal plus AI can now do somewhat more, where previously, that person really would need to be upskilled and go through training and improve their level, right? Right now, you can tap into more complex tasks with the same stuff, right? Which ultimately means that you're taking a load off the most expensive resource in your firm, which are your attorneys, right?
Which is how a good business should operate, right? The people at the top should be the ones that are doing the critical work, and then basically saying yes to the work that they don't necessarily have to do, right? I think as attorneys, we get caught up in this make-believe land of the law has to be this magical thing of, practice should be XYZ this certain way. It's still a business, right? And we're providing a work product. So, I think you have a duty to provide the best work product efficiently. That's what AI can do for you now. So you're absolutely right.
Love that. Love that. Which practice areas do you feel will be most impacted by AI in the next few years?
I mean, we're seeing it literally right now, right? With our clients, and our clients span a number of different practice areas. I think the most impact, just if I were to pick one, right, is things like creating, whether it's articles of incorporation, things of that nature, right? The baseline corporate work is going to be impacted quite heavily. Anything that is really draft or template based is going to be impacted extremely heavily. Reason being is because, automation tools will be able to literally, let's say you need an opinion letter done, right? What's stopping a good AI platform from taking your template along with the client instructions, and along with some of your instructions, and literally pumping out those opinion letters on a daily basis, right? The answer is nothing stopping it. So I think those routine tasks will certainly be hit first, and they should be hit first. Because again, I think attorneys should be going for efficiency and real value. So
I feel like corporate and business law, even so, it's an hourly model, which you would think is somewhat resistant to automation, right? Because like, why would I want to automate if I bill less hours? But really, I think the pressure is coming from the clients, right? It's from the companies that maybe are more tech focused, and they're like, well, why are you charging me 10 hours for this if ChatGPT did it in 30 minutes, right? It's
quite
like,
literally.
why should I send it to you instead of just having one of my in-house lawyers do this, right? And so it's creating just that pressure from the client side. In terms of, I guess, billing methods, what do you think about contingency based practices like personal injury, for example?
Yeah, I think contingency, again, from our own experience, they're doing great, right? If they don't have to provide bills to, let's say, an insurer, which would be more on the defense side for the most part. But for contingency, they're able to get out. I think we're doing a case study on this right now. And in one of our practices, they're making anywhere from, and I think that they're not using it the best just yet. They're an older practice, 7.5 to 12.5K more per attorney per month, right? They do a lot of contingency work. Now, practices like those are able to also do a lot more fee-based work, right? And the exact metric that we have right now is basically if you have a good understanding of how AI can help your practice and you want to do more fee-based work, it is a phenomenal model because now you can charge your clients a base price, right? And they get everything in that base price. Your clients are happy, you're happy because you might have been able to do that work within minutes as opposed to hours. Why your clients don't want to pay for that is because they're paying for your judgment, right? They're paying for the work product that you're able to provide through your judgment. So you could be a hyper specialized firm. Your clients will always pay basically whatever you ask, because again, you're providing some really good work product. At the same time, the metric that we have with regard to fee-based work is that around 85% of the time, you will make out extremely well on that fee-based work. On 15% of the time, client demands, sometimes they exceed the scope of the initial request, or a matter just blows up, right? as it happens. So on 15% of that work, you might go over your fee in terms of the hours that you're putting into that specific matter, but you're still making, on the other spectrum, you're doing phenomenal. So it balances out extremely well. So
100%, 100%. I think we'll see more fixed fee. I think hourly is probably the one that's going to be pushed the most than fee-based work. And I feel like with contingency, it's almost the one that is positioned to capture the most out of this automation and AI gains, just because I feel like, let's say in plaintiff PI, I feel it's very unlikely in the next few years that the traditional fee arrangements of one surgery are going to change anytime soon, right? And
yeah,
so if that stays the same, but now your team is doing twice as many cases, well, then you're reaping all of those rewards. Your firm is reaping all of those rewards, right?
quite literally, quite literally. So
Love it, love it. Well, thank you very much for this discussion. We're now gonna go into the demo. Before we go into that, how can people find out more about your work, about Iqidis?
simple. Just go to the website, iqidis.ai. We have a lot of resources there, and then if they'd like, just hit our team up for a demo. So
Yeah, we'll also leave a link in the description. Let's jump into the demo.
absolutely. Okay. So just baseline as far as the platform is concerned. And what we're going to do is we're going to show really only what we have here today in our the core model, right? So we have core and we also have enterprise. The way that we've structured it is that, I mean, as far as core and enterprise, the difference really is that enterprise gets some more features and they get them faster. Then there's different SLAs associated with that. But if you were to sign up for the platform today and just test it out, you'd be basically coming into this right now, right? So on a baseline, the first thing that you would see is the command center or the dashboard, where you can see the tools that you have available to you today, right? And the tools that we have out right now include the AI assistant, the library, matters, research, and multi-doc analysis. As I mentioned, everything ties in together directly in Matters. Matters is a phenomenal way to be able to organize all of your work, whether it's by client or matter focus, right? So let's pretend that we're doing litigation and our client is Carl von Luger, and we have a von Luger litigation. You can have a number of different matters opened up within one specific client. Here we have one for now. Within that specific matter, your AI instructions for your client follow you everywhere, right? Here we don't have matter instructions, but we have a default client instruction. We represent Carl von Luger in all matters. We are the Iqidis firm, right? And here, let me go into actually here. That way we can show you more of a live matter. We had uploaded a number of exhibits here along with the complaint itself. And basically, what happens is that each one of these documents, along with their context, follows you through every single conversation that you have within a matter. So in that way, you're achieving a couple of things. Before we precedent finder is a little bit down the road. When I say down the road, that's like 45 days or so. But the way to achieve memory, right, without breaking those confidentiality and some other paradigms, is basically having base context. So all these documents now are included in every single one of these conversations. So you don't have to do much, right? All you have to do is just prompt the system, and then you're really ready to go. What we do very differently, as I mentioned, and let's go into one of these. Let's go into a non-matter folder so you see the attachments themselves. So here we had uploaded those same, just not in a matter. We had uploaded the complaint and a bunch of those exhibits, right? So what we did is with the specific, sorry, this is in dev right now. What we had done is with the specific complaint, again, charted out the plaintiff, the defense, everything that's happening in between, right? That's the knowledge graph aspect of it. And then what we do is we pass it through our knowledge base, which includes millions of templates, case law, statutes, regs. And then finally, AI does the last bit of work. But what you get out is a much, much better response, longer, thorough, tie back into your facts because of the way that we've done the orchestration and we own that workflow, as opposed to fine-tuning a model, which is useless. We create orchestrations that we can enhance on literally a dime's notice, right? Because of how modular we are, how containerized we are. So you get better work product at the end of the day. With every single work product, you're able to see the thinking, meaning the actual steps that this is development environment. So let's just go here. So again, same exact work product and workflow, but you're able to see, as opposed to, because again, we don't have a single model that we're tapping into that's providing the work. But what we do have, again, is we own the orchestration. So you're able to actually view the audit log of the steps that we took to get you your answer, right? And that's a phenomenal thing because all attorneys always ask, whether it's to junior or partner, how did you get to this answer? Well, you're able to see how did we get to that answer. Then you also have things like site check. We're actually able to verify the existence of a citation and assess whether it applies to your matter, right? That's so important because again, actually understanding that it applies is what's sometimes even more important than whether it exists. Sorry. Now, the cool part is we make workflows very easy for our clients as well. So we have the save button. What save is you go into your desk. Within your desk, you have all of your notes. So let's say you want to be able to save a bunch of whether it's one of these, right? Or you think of something as you're working in a day. Well, you're able to again view that note right through here. You also have your prompt library and prompt bank, in which you can save a bunch of the things that you do on a routine basis. Simple. Include your attachment, things of that nature. You can architecture prompts and workflows through us as well. Just tell us what you want to achieve, include your references, and then we'll give you a final prompt. We have a starter pack of prompts as well for various different practice areas. So this has been phenomenal, but what gets thousands of hits per day are the prompt bank, right?
And those can be shared within the firm as well, right? So if I create a prompt, like firm managed prompt library, right?
Yeah, so what we've done is, so people, other companies will say that they're an AI workspace. What does that really mean? You have to have a complete multi-tenant environment along with really well permission sharing capabilities. So we're launching our multi-tenancy over the course of the next week. And then thereafter, because of change management, because we have thousands of lawyers on platform today, you can't just launch it in one day. We're doing a phase-wise approach to that collaboration. So that first collaboration is exactly as you mentioned. You're going to be able to share your library, things like a prompt bank, things like specific matters, and then we're going to go up from there. So there's that. But then what's really cool is, and I really love it, other companies do have these things where you can enhance a prompt, right? But it's shallow. What we do with our Amplify feature is we are actually able to take a look at your conversation, your documents, provide you not only an enhanced prompt, but literally a full-on strategy for where you are in your matter, right? So the Amplify feature, thousands of hits per day. I use it as well for whether it's vendor contracts, things of that nature. But yeah, that's just one thing that we do here. Right within the AI assistant, we also have the research and deep research modes. So as opposed to how GPT does it, what we're able to do is the architecture for our research modes includes our database of statutes and case law, right, which is an actively updated database. And then in order to fill those gaps, we tap into online legal resources, primary and secondary. So you can turn research mode on in the middle of literally a long chat, right? And what'll happen is that it'll ground the answers in our database and plus online legal resources. So it's phenomenal for client memos. It's phenomenal for things like, statute or statutory and regulatory updates, things of that nature. And then deep research just takes, 2 to 5 minutes, but it'll provide you with even deeper context and way more resources as well. So, and this is just the AI assistant. And there's so many more things in the AI assistant as well, like dictate, transfer chats. But I'm not going to bore you with that. And by the way, please do stop me at any given point if you have any questions. So,
And just another, I think, very important point that
yeah.
at least for BI is actually inline stage. That's why I love Gemini, is because, like, for example, if you ask to summarize a medical record, you can actually like click each line by line and check where it came from the document. And I know you said that that's coming in the next few weeks, right?
Yeah, so we have the structure for that as opposed to using it out of the box. So the way to achieve inline citations is not that difficult. It's, you have to have the RAG, you have some AI infra going on, and then you have to just be able to pinpoint cite to exactly where you're pulling in the sources. So our system right now, the AI assistant, does literally all of that today, right? Except for having the UI for the inline citations, because again, We literally, it's our RAG, it's our everything. It's not out of the box. So we're pushing that out relatively soon. But a really cool thing here that we have is obviously our the multi-doc analysis. What the multi-doc analysis is we're using similar paradigms and features, but we triangulate on only your documents. So you can ask a number of questions, right? And upload a number of documents. Here we've uploaded, I think, 21 documents, and we have 11 questions, 11 columns, so 11 questions. And what happens is we can basically, give you your answers and you can review them. And then you can also check the sources. So exactly that. It's phenomenal for transactional work. It's phenomenal for, baseline discovery as well. And this has been a great tool. And exactly as you mentioned, you get those pinpoint citations in the reader view too. So
how complex are the queries that we can send to this multi-doc analysis?
So let me show you the onboarding the multi-doc analysis, because that's going to really answer that. So of course you can upload a bunch of documents here, right? What you can also do is you can always just cut and paste your questions. Let's say you've been using something for years, cut and paste all that. We'll do the parsing for you. You can also basically create templates, right? Here we had created a template for alerts. Now what you notice is this says text. Let's show you exactly what that means. So the way that you can answer these questions or get these answers out is just general text, right? Obviously, there's an AI infra layer to this. We've decreased or narrowed down the temperature, meaning the variance for the AI infra is going to be very low, and you're looking at really just the documents themselves. But you can get, let's say you need something that an answer that needs nuance or analysis. You'll be able to get those answers. You can ask very complex questions. What we're seeing is a lot of companies will have a routine workflow that they have to ask, like 20 or 50 questions of a certain document set, or you're doing diligence. You're going to be able to do that through here. Get your answers out in text, yes or no, number, date, or bullet list. Yeah. And all you have to do is simply just provide us the prompt, click your answer type. The baseline is text, and we auto generate your title for you. And then you're able to run that analysis. The cool thing is, let's show you here. So here we'll attach 10 of those documents. What we'll do is we'll use the template, my template here. And what we've done is we will confirm.
And those templates as well will be able to be shared within the same firm, I imagine, at some point.
Absolutely. So, and we've run that analysis. And the cool part is you can, of course, leave and come back, or even play a game while you're waiting. We only have tic-tac-toe for now, but that's gonna be fun.
That's where your billable hours go.
Hey, you're waiting for an answer, but then obviously you can see exactly where you're getting your answers from, things of that nature. So, and simply you can leave, go into the history, and you'll see that that's being processed, and come back to it at any given time. So
tell me a bit more about case law and just legal research in the platform.
Yeah. So we also do have a standalone research application, right? The standalone research app, basically what we're doing is as opposed to case law technically is free. You just have to be able to index it and be able to tap into it, right? So what we're doing is we're tapping into the resource that we can legally tap into, and then creating a database of case law, statutes, regs, all that sort of other stuff. That's being updated literally as we speak right now on a second by second, minute by minute basis as well. So what we do is we have our database, plus we have things like whether it's Court Listener or some other platforms that are out there to be able to fill the gaps of the research. So you can either ask for research, specific cases, or you can, in natural language, right? Can an employee sue an employer for COVID-19 exposure at home? What you'll get is you'll get case law out that basically attenuates for what you've asked, and you can filter it by jurisdiction as well. Things of that nature. Here, we just asked a question. What we'll do is we'll generate a Boolean query for you. We know that that's important for a lot of attorneys. And then we'll do a relevant case, list of cases, and then we'll look for those cases in our database and or fill those gaps through online legal resources.
So is this replacing Westlaw, LexisNexis?
So we are, I can't say that we are replacing them today. a number of our clients, and this is just what our clients have told us, right? They've canceled their practical law subscriptions, which makes entire sense. And I think that the numbers at like 27 plus firms have done that. We're not saying, hey, cancel your Westlaw subscription today, but we will be at parity with those providers over the course of the next few months, right? And we're not talking years here. So we're getting there. We're certainly getting there. And here you can do the opinion, of course, add it into your library if you want to as well, and click the reference links as well. So, and then you have the search logic, the Boolean query, some of the recommended cases, and of course you can regenerate all this too. And we provide you with some specific follow-up questions depending on where you are in your matter. So
does it just surface, let's say, the applicable cases, or it actually like answers the question?
So what it'll do is it'll kind of answer your question by giving you the case you're looking for. This is version 1 and still in beta, the case law search. So exactly what you mentioned, we're going to be doing a lot more of that too, and then linking this directly into the AI assistant. As I kind of mentioned, right, within the matters, you have a view of your doc and context conversations, notes. We're going to be including multi-doc analysis here as well, and I can show you that in the dev environment. So again, basically, it's a matter of having all your things in one place, and then we're also including and tying in research directly into all of this as well. So
right. Mindful of the time, just a few last questions. Big thing for lawyers is Word, right? And being able to download, edit Word documents. If you work with, let's say, even Gemini, you can use Canvas, but it's not exactly Word, right? So what are you doing on that front?
a couple of things. And I was going to stay away from showing this, but I guess we might as well. This is coming out very, very soon. So we had toyed around with the Word integration at first. Word, you're absolutely right. You want to be able to basically provide some instructions, walk away, and come back to a new document. What we're doing is, in order to have a cohesive system so you can live in one place, is basically we're launching our drafting assistant. So drafting assistant, you can take either any of the work product from the AI chat or anywhere else in the system. You can even upload your own documents, right? Either templates or whatever it is, and then basically have AI make those changes for you in an agentic format, do your questions and answers, and download this directly into, export it into Word or PDF. This is a one-to-one Word editor, so you have all that functionality. And then the really cool part is, this is version 1. Version 2 is going to include things like being able to redline different versions, but then also collaborate, right? Being able to have a Google Doc style of collaboration where you can have multiple people working on a specific document. And we will include a standard Word integration as well. But in our beta testing and speaking to our clients, which we do constantly, we realize that this is going to be a heavier lift, but it's going to be the one that provides way more value to our clients. And that's what we've done. And we're launching this in about, I would say, the next 7 to 14 days max. So
You also have very fast development cycles, which I love.
yeah, we're
Right.
developer heavy. So
Exactly. To wrap things up, let's talk about pricing, getting access to this. I understand people can also get a trial of this, unlike many other legal AI vendors. So please explain that.
yeah, so we're keeping pricing pretty simple for now. You have the core, and then you also have the enterprise. At the end of the day, we want to work with our teams. So, if you're a solo practitioner, you want to be able to use the platform every day, you can do the month-to-month core platform, or you can come to us for your enterprise needs as well, where we do either semi-annual or annual contracts, but where we provide a number of different integrations as well, whether it's for your DMS system, we provide you SLAs, of course, Customer Success Manager, and a bunch of other really neat features. But we keep the pricing really, really simple and transparent. Also, depending on what your needs are, we'll probably waive any sort of a startup fee as well, which I think is absolutely abhorrent because why do you need a startup fee for a SaaS platform? So
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That's something that's always bothering me. It's like, no, I could set it up myself. It's fine. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, you could go on and within minutes start on the platform. Same thing with the enterprise, right? You could be up and running within a day if you want to. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for this demo and this conversation, Sabih. Really, really interesting product. I'm looking forward to the inline stations in the Word editor. And after that, I think this will be an absolutely kick-ass product. Excuse my language.
We'll make you happy, Martin. Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.